Most of you know Stanley, who's the founder of The Attention Seeker. I am a proud client, long time with Stanley. Many people in this room are. He's going to be doing what usually is a fantastic workshop today on personal branding.
Cool. Thank you, Drew. Cheers. Well, thanks, guys. So today, this morning, I went back to the gym after like a month, and I did this BFT thing, which I don't know, it's like this group training. And so if I get out of breath, there's a reason. My lungs still haven't recovered from this morning, so I'm going to try and slow down, take some deep breaths and talk. So yeah, my name's Stanley. I'm the managing director of a company called The Attention Seeker. Most of you either know me or get bombarded with me on LinkedIn every day. So if you don't know me, my name's Stanley. And what do we do? So we build personal brands for people, for business owners, for business leaders. And so when we say personal brand, essentially what we mean is your reputation, and we mean it with a deliberate effort behind it on digital platforms. That's how we help. So essentially helping you create content to tell your story online. How many people in this room is most of your business done through referrals or your reputation in the marketplace? Right? Most of us, right? That's usually the case in a room full of people in professional services or B2B. And so all we are trying to do is help you take that reputation and scale it online. And we do that through content and audience building. And so how do we do it? We do that through a few, well, there's a whole bunch of stuff, but three that we're going to concentrate on today is audience, the hero's journey, and strong opinions. And so my talk is going to be a lot for you guys to do. So whereas Drew threw a bunch of content at you, I'm going to give you a bunch of activities to do. And the idea behind the end of this talk is that you'll have answers for each of these things to go away with and start implementing for yourselves, right? And helping you develop your own personal brands online, in person, whatever it might be. So audience. So for us, this is who is listening, who is watching, and are they your customers? So a big thing for us is making sure that when we're helping people, are the right people listening? Are the right people seeing your content? And are those right people the people who will eventually pay you money for the things and services that you do? Your hero's journey. So this is, where did you come from? How did you get here? And where are you going? And that's super important to have a hero's journey. And we'll go through a model shortly how to do that. But your backstory, where you've come from, is a real big way of connecting and building rapport with people, right? Where they can understand your journey, buy into it, understand where you've come from, find things that are relevant. So we'll go through that a little bit shortly. And then strong opinions. So what do you truly believe in? How is it different to others? And why do people care? We'll get into a little bit here. This is where we get a little bit controversial, maybe. I don't know if that's the right word. So anyway, let's start with audience. So a key thing that I always try to press on people is that when you're trying to talk to everybody, you talk to nobody. And for a lot of marketers in the room, you probably know that if you try to be too broad with who you're trying to go after and who you're trying to attack, you will eventually get no one, because your message gets diluted, and not in that specific niche that you're trying to focus on won't know who you are or what you offer or why you offer value to them compared to the person next to you who's offering a specific product for that target audience, right? So we'll jump straight into it. Our first exercise. So this is about defining your niche and your target audience. So there's three questions you need to answer. The first one is, what is a broad topic you know well? Pick a sub-niche that you know a lot about within that topic, and then get specific on your audience. And then from that, we can hopefully define our niche, right? And so some examples for me. So marketing is something that I know broadly a lot about. Personal branding is something that I know a lot more about inside of marketing. I'm not a master of Google and Facebook and things like that. My sub-niche is personal branding. And mid-tier business owners is my specific audience that we target. So putting all that all together, personal branding for mid-tier business owners. Cool? Any questions on what I'm asking in this from you? So by the end of it, I'm going to give you 5 minutes or so. I want everyone to have this bit here, personal branding for mid-tier business owners in your own mind. You might already have it. Some of you I know already have it. But for those of you who don't, think about it. Broad topic, take a little bit deeper. Who's your target audience? Okay, so 5 minutes or so, talk amongst yourselves, use some people to flesh this out with you. You might get some good ideas from the people next to you. So 5 minutes, let's go. All right, so look, that wasn't a lot of time to come up with your whole thing, but the idea is that if you can get through these few questions and you really try to nail it in and pick answer to these things, it really helps give you a quick narrow focus to start with. It might be something that you expand on later and build on and work out what it actually is, but it gives you somewhere to start. It's just a real quick thing to take away, all right? All right, next. So hero's journey. So your audience is more likely to come on your journey if they see themselves in you. And this is what I was saying. This is why it's a really good way of creating content and building a backstory for you, is having a hero's journey. So a model that we use, and there's many ways of telling your backstory. The one that we use is a 12-stage model for hero's journey. It's written about a lot. There's more in depth in here. If you just Google hero's journey, you'll find a whole bunch of stuff on it. But in our particular one, there's 12 stages. So these first ones, so we've got status quo, the start of the journey. So what was life like before you set out on the current story? Your inciting incident, what happened that made you start the journey? Refusal, what were your reservations about starting in the first place? Your mentor, who or what helped you along the way? No return, what have you let go from your old life to begin down the path of your new world? Your Rocky montage, so what was the biggest moment of growth throughout the story? Perseverance, what were some of the roadblocks you had to overcome on your way? Death and rebirth, when did it feel like everything might fall apart? Rebuild, after surviving death, what big accomplishments do you have to share? The road back, how have you or your business changed? Resurrection, just as you thought everything was fine, something tried to drag you down. What was it and how did you overcome it from everything you have learned? And lastly, return with the elixir. How are you using the journey you have been on to help others? And so that probably doesn't mean a whole lot to you right now, so let's put it into some context. So those of you who've seen my presentation before, I've tried to update it so you've got a new story to listen to, and a lot more has happened since we last spoke. So my journey, my status quo starts back, I was a hotel general manager. I'd been in the hotel game for 15 years, and I needed something more, and I wasn't too sure what that was. But then I went on a trip to India and Dubai, and I was trying to have my first holiday in 2 and a bit years, and I was constantly getting bombarded with emails and calls and things from work. Even in India and Dubai, I couldn't get away with it, and I was getting complaints from the owner going, "Where is Stan? Why isn't he here? He should be here every single day. He shouldn't be able to have a holiday." And so I just got fed up. I was like, I knew that was going to be my life forever, constantly while I worked for other people. So my inciting incident was that I wanted to get out of the rat race, I suppose, is a good terminology. So I started making content daily for myself, meeting new people, joining networking groups. But it was real hard at first. I wanted to quit so bad as I was doing it, but I'd convinced Claire to move countries and come to New Zealand and give up her career. And then I couldn't just say, "Oh yeah, cool, let's give this up and go back to where we were." So I wanted to quit. I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed with all the things I knew I had to do to get to the place of 5 of celebrated or 4 of well-known that Drew talks about. But then, from a mentor perspective, I started meeting people like Drew and Ben and everyone else in this room. And in fact, that's where this picture's taken. And all these other amazing business people and entrepreneurs who helped me through this journey. I could not have done what we've achieved in the last couple of years without these communities that we've been a part of, especially ones like Connector. So I had my mentors. COVID happened constantly, kept on happening. The hotel industry was decimated. There was no path back. There was no way I could go back to my old life. Even a year into this, I was like, oh, maybe if I did quit, could I go get a job as a GM or whatnot? Also, now, this far along, I'm definitely unemployable now. No one will want to deal with my crap these days. So this is the point of no return for me. I can't get back. But then as we started, this is our Rocky montage. This is the bit where I'm running up Philadelphia stairs and celebrating. We started to build a team. We started to get some really cool humans around me. We started to get a good client base, and we're becoming a bit more of an established business rather than some one-man band sitting out of his spare bedroom. But then, like, from a perseverance point of view, you know, the COVID just kept happening. And last year, in August 2021, we all went back into lockdown, as we all know. And, you know, we were just starting to hit our straps. We'd hired 2 more people. We were about to move into office, and then we got thrown into lockdown. Revenues tanked. We had a lot of people who couldn't, who may have started onboarding, but we couldn't do retainers because we couldn't get out and make content, all this sort of stuff. And so it was a real tough time during that period for us, but we just kept persevering, knowing that we knew what we needed to do. My death and rebirth, though, for me, was at the start of this year, or end of last year, we decided to take on government grants as a way of trying to boost revenues. And it's great, but you know, when you start dancing with the devil, there's things that happen, right? And for us, it was tough. You know, cash flows are hard when you're invoicing government because we're still waiting on invoices to come through from them. And cash flow was real tight. And we had just signed, we had been in leases and had new staff and all this sort of stuff. And so when I paid payroll on February 28th, I had $162 left across all my bank accounts. And Claire was like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, this is nuts. And it was like, that's pretty much how I looked for most of it. I had a full head of hair before that. That was tough. That was my death. And then it was also my rebirth because I knew what we needed to do. I knew that cash flows were tough, but I knew we could grow out of it. I knew there was a path I had done to get the business to a certain point. And I knew what I needed to. So we went back on the offensive. We started to hire. We knew that we had a really good base of clients. We'd taken all these clients through government grants and stuff, and we had a really cool client base. We had all these outgoings and not a lot of incomings, but we knew we had to grow our way out of it. So that's what we did. You know, I had to make sure, so as part of the road back, trying to build back to where we wanted to be, I knew that what we had to do was keep on pumping out content, keep on putting up our personal brand, keep pushing for what we were trying to do. So we just doubled down everything. We had more staff to be able to produce more content and doing all the things that we knew worked and just taking it to another level. But then, stupidly, I took on this huge 3-month project to renovate our dream studio office. And that's what it looked like when we started. And it was this covered in vinyl that halfway of pulling it up, we realized that, oh, maybe there's asbestos there. So then we had to get asbestos checker. And I was thinking I just killed Claire because she was the one in there doing it. And it was a nightmare, but it was also drain on cash flows when we already were sucking out all our money. I was running the day job all day, then going home at night and trying to flip this place and then on weekends and didn't have a day off for 3 months. And that was real tough. Like really tough, like to the point where Sunday night, not the Sunday gone, the one before, Claire and I finally finished and got it all done before we moved in Monday and just sat down and we're like, fuck, like if we hadn't have got to this point, like we probably would have collapsed and killed each other. But returning with the Alexa, I mean, we're now in our 3rd year, we have our dream studio office that we've built. As I said, we're now, by the end of this month, we'll have our 2 new staff and be a team of 14. Got a big team in the Philippines, which I've also spelt wrong, and an army of service providers, like making it work for us, right? Like who we trust and rely on from a service provider point of view. And we're set up, the road ahead is looking bright. And that is my hero's journey. And I hope that gives some context to what you're about to do, which is write your own hero's journey. So once again, these are your steps. I can come back and forth with these as much as you need, but I'm going to give you a little bit longer this time because this is going to take you a little while. But we're going to give you 10 minutes. You probably want your phones because there's no pad and pens here. But I want you to start to just, you don't need to write a full thing, right? Just where were you before this journey started? So for some people, you don't have to go way back to the point where you started your business. It might just be where you're at the start of COVID, or it might be where you're at the start of this year, or it might be right back to where you were in high school. Who knows? Pick a point and then try go through each of these steps. What was the thing that made you start down that path? Yep, Jasmine? There, you will have heaps throughout. Yeah. So I guess when you're thinking about your hero's journey in this context, is that audience that we just talked about, what story do they want to hear? What's the one that relates to them? You know, when you're thinking about the franchise owners that you work with, what is some of the stuff that they would resonate with your story? You know, so that's why we start with audience. Always start with the audience. We're talking and writing for them. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes until 1:45 to do this. Please put your hand up if you need some help. Grab me. We can talk through some stuff. It's not as hard as it looks. You don't need to have every single step. There's some key ones. Where were you? What happened to made you do it? Who helped you along the way? What was your growth? What was the challenge? Where are you now? So there's some key ones that you have to have, probably. You need that up and down when you watch movies and stuff, and Harry Potter's getting attacked by Voldemort. You need to know, what is that moment? Maybe not the right room for Harry Potter, but give us a go. Right, you got 10 minutes. Doesn't resonate with this room. Give me a yell, please. If you need some help, call me over. Oh, yeah. Do you want to go back to the big one? Yeah, I'll put
descriptions of them is quite helpful.
Yeah. Tell me when you want to go back and forth as we need. Maybe I'll keep this one for 5 minutes and then keep your description real brief, like something that you know you can go back to later and flesh out.
So yeah.
Cool.
So that's the roller coaster.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Yeah.
It's
Awesome. Well done.
the roller coaster.
And so look, we probably don't have time to go through another one, sorry, Drew, but I just want to quickly talk about like when and how do you use this, right? So there's a bunch of ways. There's a long version that you can use in presentations. There's short versions, like 3 or 4 quick lines that you might give to people in a sales pitch, or when you first meet people, when you're trying to, oh, where did you come from? How'd you start? You know, having the real core elements of that. There might be posts that you could make on LinkedIn or content or stuff like that, and videos that you might do. It works really well when you are getting asked to speak on podcasts or things like that, right? There's plenty of places you can use it. And the model's only one. As I said, there's plenty of other ones. There's shorter, more concise, longer, whatever you want. But having a story that resonates with that original audience is a real crucial or helpful tool to help you start to build some rapport with those people, right? And you all have them anyway. You always do when you start to build people and they ask you, oh, what's your story? Where'd you come from? How'd you do it? You still have one. It's just about putting some intention behind it and give people that roller coaster, because that's what good storytelling does for people, to see the highs and the lows. Cool? So you got a framework. Like I said, we'll send this out till you go through it. So let's get to the last one, because we're going to run out of time otherwise. So, strong opinions. They're like assholes, right? Everyone has one. And apologies for my swearing. But boring opinions don't encourage engagement. If nobody is engaging with you, then no one is buying your product or service. You don't have to force a strong opinion. We all have them. Have a strong opinion or stay unknown, okay? And so this part of it is, where I said a little bit controversial, because some people don't want to stir the apple cart, right? But you don't have to be a prick here. You can do this in a good way, just to have a strong opinion and a conviction of what you believe in and go all in on it, right? So some examples. So we could write something like this, where I reinvest all my money back into growing my business. But that's a little boring, right? It's not, doesn't really inspire you to click on more and read more about that. So instead I could write, investing in property is for those who don't know how to grow a company. Right? So who wants to fight me over that one, you know? And I know people do, because I've done a similar post and we had lots of fights and it was great. I love it. Some other examples of things that we've done. So from some posts of mine, so like, should salaries be visible? You know, it's something that if you go and find this post and read some of the comments, there's some fighting words in there from some people and some other people who really strongly agree with that as well. And that was 34,000 something impressions on that one. Yeah, so this is the one that was sort of similar. I couldn't think of anything worse than buying a home, a mortgage, fuck that. So again, 26,000 impressions. You can imagine what the comment section looks like that. 161 comments and both sides of it, especially with my brother who's a mortgage advisor and all sorts of stuff. And you can imagine where that went. But it's something I truly believe in. It's my thought on life. And then this one, I really don't give an F what you think. That's my greatest strength in life. So again, 16,000 impressions. There was a whole bunch of stuff in there, but it agitated people. These are probably some of the more extreme ones of what I write. But again, they're strong opinions. And the reason I bring that up is that in this third exercise, these last three things, be prepared to defend your opinions, be prepared to have a proper debate, and be prepared to have your mind changed. And you know, there's the top ones of don't be a bigot, don't pull any punches, and only write things you 100% believe in. But these sorts of things to think about when you're thinking of strong opinions, they really change them from you just being a prick, I suppose, out there. Like, you really do need to believe in what you're saying. And if you do really believe in it, then you shouldn't be shy of saying it. There are ways you can write and frame your content so that you aren't necessarily being offensive, like maybe I sometimes might be. But you definitely need to be prepared to have your mind changed, and be open to debate. There's nothing worse than Drew always talks about consequences, right? Like, you can be really bold like I am, but there's a consequence to saying the things the way I say it. And I have to be prepared to handle those consequences. So you might tone that down a little bit, but if you're not like that, or you might ham it up, who knows what you like, but be prepared to have a proper debate. And in the last point, I always try to put on, like, I'm really okay to have my mind change on things. I'll fight you on it all day. And, you know, much to my partner's hatred of this, like, we'll fight all day on it and play devil's advocate, but I'm more than willing to change my opinion on stuff if people have a really good, sound argument. And you need to if you're going to have a strong opinion, because most times you're, if not wrong, some part of it's wrong. And as Drew and I always say,
Everything is great.
everything is grey. Everything is grey. There's so little in this sort of opinion, like, they are opinions that are black and white. All right? So what I'd like you to do now is, one, don't be a bigot, but also don't pull any punches. And I'd like you to come up with some strong opinions you have. This is actually best done in a group, because you might not realize what you say is a strong opinion, and the rest of the group might be like, whoa, hold up. Do you really believe that? And that's good. Be okay for the debate. Be okay to be challenged. And why I want you guys to do this, we'll spend a couple minutes. You don't need, try get to 5. You don't need a whole lot. If you can get 1 or 2 really good ones, they become really good pillars for your content moving forward to write about, right? And you can write about constantly. So let's give you a couple minutes, talking amongst yourselves, try come up with some together. Let's see what's happened. Let's see what happens. Build some confidence, share them on your next post. But yeah, cool. Thanks, guys. So strong opinions. Now let's pull it all together. I've got like 30 seconds left. The first part, 2 minutes. The first part is developing your personal brand with consistency, right? So the things that we've talked about and part of your homework, and really as I start to wrap this up, is this. So audience, like, when you talk to everybody, you talk to nobody, all right? So figure out who that audience is and try get into the mindset of them, what it is that they need to hear from you, right? And so frame your content or your hero's journey or your opinions so that that listener or audience will resonate with it, okay? So audience is very important. Hero's journey, so your audience is more likely to come on your journey if they see themselves in you. So again, share your story, share how you got to where you are. How does it resonate with your target audience? What is it about that they'll build empathy with you, or whatever it might be to help them come along for that journey with you? And then strong opinions, again, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. You all do. You all have an opinion on things that other people might find like that you're absolutely wrong, offensive, whatever it might be. But you truly believe in it and you think it's valuable to the world to share your thoughts and how to solve that particular opinion that you've got, right? So the model here is to help you guys take something away, to help develop your professional influence in the world with what Drew just spoke about, taking a framework of some really simple stuff to go out and start actioning straight away, right? Start having these conversations with people, start posting up your strong opinions, tag me in it because I can't wait to have a laugh. And make sure you know who you're actually speaking to, like speaking to the right people, and be specific about it, and have some focus around that. Thanks.